The best lawyers aren't found in the big law firms. They're found in the stories of those who left. Chapter 11. The Wake-Up Call. The day flew by, and I was deep in the zone, running on the rhythm I'd built. Mornings for BD, afternoons for client work, after hours if I needed to catch up on the work. My fingers flew across the keyboard as I finalised the shareholder agreement, redlining clauses, restructuring key terms, and drafting a summary that was clear, concise, and worth every dollar I'd quoted Elon. Then a ping, another email with an attachment from Elon. "Hey Jason, great chatting today and glad to be working with you again. Could you take a quick look at this lease as well? Just a high-level review, shouldn't take long." I glanced at the clock, 3:43, plenty of time before 5 p.m. I started typing back. "Sure, I can squeeze it in." Wait, something twisted tight and cold at the base of my spine. Then my stomach dropped. I promised to pick up the kids. My heart pounded into overdrive as I scrambled for my phone. 5 missed calls, 3 from Courtney, 2 from the school. A noise clawed its way out of my throat. I didn't even stop to think. I grabbed my keys and bolted. I walked through the front door 30 minutes later, breathless, my shirt sticking to my back, guilt pressing against my ribs like a vice. Courtney stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, watching as Oliver and Emily sat at the dining table, finishing an afternoon's after-school snack. She didn't say anything, didn't have to. I ran a hand down my face. "Court, She held up her hand. "Not now, we'll talk later." Her voice was calm, which somehow made it worse. I sat down next to Oliver, ruffling his hair. "How was school, buddy?" He shrugged. "Fine. Miss Jasmine stayed with me until Mum got there." My gut twisted. Courtney dropped everything and rushed to school because I'd been too buried in my work to remember the whole reason I quit my job in the first place. The flexibility for her, for the kids. I had one priority, and whilst I repeated it out loud all the time, today clearly showed that was all talk. Since I had to get these reviews done, I snuck off to my office, too ashamed to face the disappointment in the faces of the people who I loved more than anything else in the world. Later that night, I was still at my laptop, the glow of the screen illuminating the contract I still needed to finalise. I heard the office door open. Courtney came to the doorway, arms crossed, dropping the time like a verdict. "It's 8:30. My shoulders sagged, the weight of it all pressing down. I just had to get these done to stay on top of everything. She relayed a fact, but underneath it, the accusation was loud and clear. "Kids went to bed an hour ago." Guilt was crushing my throat as I squeezed out the words. "I know." The pause between her words was only slight, but landed like a sledgehammer. "You skipped the bedtime routine. Again." I squeezed my eyes shut. She walked over and sat on the edge of the desk. "Jason." Soft, reassuring. The tone she used before I was about to hear something I really didn't want to, but needed to hear. I swallowed hard. "I lost track of time. I was in the middle of reviewing." "That's the second time this week, and you forgot to pick them up," she said. Any softness vanished, replaced with something sharper and cold to let me know this wouldn't be an argument, as there was no excuses. My hand raked through my hair, a useless attempt to push away the guilt pressing down on me. "I know." She studied me for a moment, then shook her head. "You quit the firm so you wouldn't miss out on our life, so you could do school pickup, so you wouldn't have to rush bedtime, and yet here we are." Guilt churned deep inside me. She wasn't wrong. I didn't expect this much work this fast, I admitted. I thought I'd have to fight for every client, but now it's like I'm drowning, and I feel like if I don't say yes to it all, it'll dry up. She tilted her head. "And what happens if you keep saying yes to everything?" I stared at the screen, jaw clenched. "Then I'm right back to where I started," I said. Courtney only needed 3 syllables to let me know this wasn't going to be okay moving forward. "Exactly." I rubbed my temples. "I need to set better boundaries," I said. She leaned in, her voice softening, some of the edge easing. "You need to schedule our life first, then fit the work around it, not the other way around." I let that sink in. She was right. Again. My voice cracked, heavy with shame. "I'm really sorry, Court. It won't happen again." Without raising her voice, but layering it with just enough firmness to make it clear. "I'm upset for Ollie and Em. I'm an adult. I can tell you when you're not treating me right, but they can't. They just know that their dad, who promised he wouldn't let work keep him from being in their lives again, has already broken that promise." I dropped my head, my eyes stinging. The truth of it hit like a punch to the chest. I tried to blink back the shame. Courtney didn't say it to be cruel. She knew that it would hit home, and as much as it tore me apart to hear, there was not a single word of it that wasn't the truth. She softened her tone as she settled into my lap with her hands around my neck. You're a great dad, but sometimes you just need a little reminder. Pressing her lips to my cheek, I breathed deeply and turned my head to face hers. I wiped at the tear slipping down my cheek and pulled her in for a bear hug and didn't let go. I mean it. Never again, I said, followed by a whispered, I love you more and the most. She embraced me with just as much rigour before letting go and gently standing up. Well, share some of that with the kids. I broke our embrace to head up to give the kids a goodnight kiss, even though they were both already fast asleep. The next morning, before anyone else was awake, I sat down at the kitchen table, laptop open and ready for action. I opened my Outlook and blocked out my non-negotiables. School pickups, 2:45 to 3:30 p.m. Dinner with family, 5 till 7 p.m. Bedtime routine, 7 till 8 p.m. No work after 9 p.m. or Sundays. 3 hours max on a Saturday, and only while the kids were sleeping or at a friend's house. I flexed my fingers, feeling the tension ease as I looked at the screen and felt good enough to speak it out loud. There, that's the schedule. Everything else, client calls, contract reviews, networking, has to fit around it. Unannounced, Courtney had slipped behind me, wrapping around my shoulders and pressing a kiss to my cheek. Now that looks like the life you wanted. I lowered my chin into her arms in agreement, determination settling into my bones. Time to start living by it. Later that afternoon, my phone rang. A returning client. I answered, keeping my tone light. Hey, John, how's it going? Good. Just a quick one. Could you do a call at 3:15 today with the team, just to run through a new deal we're considering? Shouldn't take more than 20 minutes, just so you get the gist and can help with the contracts if the deal proceeds. I hesitated. This was it, the moment I'd always avoided, telling a client no. It wasn't like I was asking him for a kidney. I wasn't a prima donna pretending my time was more valuable than his, but it still felt like I was about to lose a client, and with him, all the referrals and future work he might bring. I inhaled deeply, trying to quiet the panic. My brain was flooding me with reasons to just say yes and figure it out later. Then, Courtney quietly entered. She didn't say a word, just set a coffee down beside me and gave my shoulder a squeeze. Guided by the warmth of Courtney's hand still lingering on my shoulder, I let the words come calmly. I'd love to help out with the project, but I do school pick up at that time. Can we do 3:45 instead? Silence. For less than half a second, the knot began forming in my stomach. Then John's voice reappeared. Easier, like a pressure valve had been released. Oh, that's awesome, man. I wish I'd prioritized that back in the day when I first started the business. My kids are older now, but I missed way too many pickups when they were little. Good on you for making it a priority. Relief flooded through me. Courtney gave me a thumbs up and wink as she walked out and gently closed the door behind her. I smiled into the phone. Yeah, it's one of the reasons I went out on my own. I still get the work done, just on my own schedule. John's words rolled out slower this time, carrying a real kind of respect. Honestly, mate, it's really refreshing to hear. I might start setting some better boundaries myself. You've inspired me. We rescheduled. No issue, no hesitation. Courtney peeked her head in as I hung up. Clearly, she'd been hovering just outside the door waiting for the conversation to end. How'd it go? She said. I let out the breath I was holding before responding. He respected it. Actually liked me more for it, I think. Wished he had done this for his kids. She gave me a huge hug, and her words released a rush down my spine. I'm proud of you, she said. That afternoon, at exactly 5 p.m, I shut my laptop and waltzed into the dining room. Courtney glanced up from her kitchen bench, dinner preparations spread out in front of her. You're done? I walked over, stretching. Yep. The kids' voices echoed down the hallway, a tangled mess of giggles and happy shouting, and for the first time in weeks, I wasn't too busy to enjoy it. I turned to her. Thanks for the wake-up call. She gave her best threatening godfather impression. You'll get another one if you need it. Family comes first. I shook my head lightly, warmth bleeding into my voice. I won't. She handed me a peeler and a potato. Good. Now make some of that famous potato mash the kids love. I was only too happy to obey, heading toward the sink. End of chapter. Bonus resource. The Cell Life Productive Time Investor. To plan your ideal life each week. First the personal, then the billable, the BD and the admin, in order of the priorities you should have as a self-employed lawyer. The link to the resource is in the show notes.
We own our time, we own the game.